Hello friends, today I'm happy to come your way. Today on our educational segment, we are going to talk about a very important topic. I'm taking you down the memory lane. Today we are going to discuss the War of the Golden Stool. Now, when it comes to the Golden Stool, what's so significant about the Golden Stool? Now, anytime this topic pops up, there is one person that played a very vital role in this particular topic, and that person is no other person than Yasantua. Okay, and so the War of the Golden Stool is sometimes termed as the Yasantua War. What is so important about the Golden Stool? It is worthy to note that the Golden Stool signified the symbol of the very essence of the Ashanti kingdom. It signified their blood, it signified their power, it signified their authority. And so if something is actually signifying the very essence of your being, I believe that you want to protect it. Okay, and so why the war? In actual sense, in 1901, that is on the 19th of March in 1901, the British statesman at that time, David Lloyd George, in parliamentary session announced that Sir Frederick Michel Hodgson has requested for the Golden Stool, and his request for the Golden Stool was equally a request of the Holy Grail. And for those of us that are Christians, we know what the Holy Grail signified, and so he compared the request for the Golden Stool to that of the Holy Grail. In fact, this did not really go down to the members of parliament at that time. But before we get to know more about this story, who is Sir Frederick Michel Hodgson, and what has it got to do with Ghana history? It is worthy to note that Sir Frederick Michel Hodgson was by then the local administrator and the governor of the Gold Coast. Now when we say Gold Coast, it is present-day Ghana, and he was the governor at that time in the periods of 1898 to 1900. In fact, when this message was relayed to Parliament, the members of the House were not so keen about the war, because they knew that as much as this has been said, it means they are going to war again with Ashantis. And don't forget, they've had several Anglo-Ashanti wars already. And so some of the members of parliament went to the local office and asked the secretary, Mr. Joseph Chamberlain, the then secretary for the local for the colonial office, to find out if really this request was a prior permission given from above, that is given by the Queen, for him to demand the request, or for him to demand the Golden Stool from the Ashanti people, because they felt that Sir Frederick Michel Hodgson was of the view that if only he could possess the Golden Stool, he would be able to control the people forever. And so the members of parliament at that time were extremely concerned about the issue of going to war, because they knew that it was going to be a huge expenses on them, because already they've had unsuccessful wars with the Ashantis, and so going to war again with them would have been a total waste of time, money, and all that. So they were really concerned about the quest for the Golden Stool. Despite their concerns that were raised, Hodgson advanced towards Kumasi with a small British force at that time, and with some local levies, that's with some local military troops. Upon arrival, the people, that's the Ashantis, okay, upon arrival, which was 25th of March 1900, the people received him, gave him a traditional welcoming with children singing God Save the Queen, to welcome him and that of his wife, Lady Hodgson. After the pleasantries, he mounted a platform that was given in his honor, and he made a speech that changed the affairs of things, and that also changed the history of the Ashantis and that of the British. Okay, the speech, now I'm going to quote the speech because this is history, so I need to put it right. The speech, according to the closest surviving account, which came through an Ashanti translator, and I quote, "Your king, Prempeh I, is in exile and will not return to Ashanti. His power and authority will be taken over by the representative of the Queen of Britain." Up to this time, we must not forget that the Ashantis have had, or the British have had, unsuccessful wars already with the Ashantis. But in one of the wars, which occurred in 1863 and 1864, in fact, this war actually ended in July 1874. Here, Ashantis were defeated and they submitted to the British. And so, in order to show that you have submitted, you have to come into terms and sign an agreement. So, therefore, there was an agreement signed, which was the Treaty of Formina. In this treaty, it was required by the Ashanti to pay an indemnity of 50,000 ounces of gold to the British. However, this indemnity charge was never fulfilled on the part of the Ashantis. Hodgson also says that the 1874 war had not been forgotten by the British, and that the Ashanti had to pay with interest this time around a sum of 160,000 pounds a year to the Queen. And on top of that, the Queen has requested for the Golden Stool. In fact, if you were an Ashanti at that time and you held a prominent position at that time, what would you have done? And this actually broke the backbone of the Ashantis, because aside the 160,000 pounds that he had to pay to the Queen every year, they were also supposed to send the stool to the Queen, and the Queen must receive the stool. He then asked where the stool was. Nobody minded him on that. He again asked why he had been relegated. This man was a very tough man to be asking all sorts of questions. He again asked why he had been relegated to an ordinary chair, knowing that he was a representative of a paramount power like the Queen. Okay, and he further on stated that although the British government had not received the Golden Stool, yet it's going to rule over the Ashanti people with the same impartiality and fairness. And this impartiality and fairness is going to be as if they had already produced the Golden Stool. And so I think he was also daring the people. Okay? And I believe that at that time hearts were boiling. They wanted to react. Despite all the things that he said, the speech was received in silence. it was received in silence. Nobody complained, nobody talked about. But as soon as the chiefs returned to their various homes, they started preparing for war. Now, what does the golden stool actually signifies for the Ashanti kingdom? I have already said earlier that the golden stool meant everything for the Ashantis. It is also again worthy to note that the golden stool does not seem to be a mere representation of physical objects, but it's also a symbol of power, which is considered as a metaphysical and spiritual soul of the Ashanti kingdom. And so requesting for it means requesting for their blood. Now, let us not forget that down in the memory lane of history, these people have had several wars with the Ashantis already, and so they were not in the very good terms with Ashantis. But I believe that at a point in time, when the Treaty of Formina was signed, the Ashantis wanted to live amicably with them until this speech was also made, okay? And so with the misunderstanding created by Sir Frederick Michel Hodgson's speech, who was by then the representative of the Queen of Britain, it created a conflict of interest, which was a difficult task for the Ashantis already, because they have already had several wars with them, and so their relationship had already been strained, okay? And so therefore the Ashantis decided to go to war. Now, where does the great warrior Yasantua comes in? Next week I'll come your way with the final part of this interesting topic, and that is where we will see Yasantua being so formidable in this part, okay? And this is why the war was named after her. That the war of the Golden Stool is also termed as the Yasantua War. I believe that you've had a wonderful time with me. Don't go away. Next week, same time, come around, because I'm going to give you the final episode of the history of the Ashantis. I hope you've enjoyed the time with me. Have a nice time. Bye-bye.